Majority of Americans approve the Trump indictment. Oh, no. Things are not looking good for my boy right now. Hold on. This is not good. B. Bonjuk, thank you for the 5 get the subs. This is not good at all, folks. Let's continue.
Now, the decision to indict has elicited a strong reaction across the political spectrum. New CNN polling shows many Americans believe politics played at least some role in the decision to indict Donald Trump. Take a look at this. 52% say politics played a major role, and you see 23% say a minor role. Some think no role, and there's also an element of people still, they really are not sure. CNN's Jeff Zeleny joins us now for much more on this. Jeff, many people think that politics played some role in this indictment, but how many people that were polled actually approve of the indictment?
Okay, this is so interesting. Of course, you cannot divorce politics from any of this because we are talking about
the
former president here, who, of course, is a
Uber Kaiser Soze. Thank you for the 10 get the
findings of our new poll. Take a look at this. 60% of Americans, some 6 in 10 of Americans, support the overall indictment here.
That's crazy, dude. That's a wild fucking poll, man. That is an insane fucking number of Americans that are like, yeah, fucking lock them up. I'm just, wow. Wow. Like, basically, they're just like, we don't even care. Just fucking throw them in there for whatever reason.
And 40% are against it. That's largely driven by sort of some common views from Republicans. Of course, they're opposed, Democrats support, but independents largely follow this rule. So that is so interesting that 60% support. And we should be clear, we do not know exactly what is in the indictment. This is just based on the broad confines of a familiar storyline of a hush money payment that we've been talking about for more than 6 years now. So 6 in 10 Americans support.
I bet Hillary indictment numbers would also be comically high. You know what? I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't believe that. I wish it were, but I don't think it would be that high. I think a lot of you mistake our circle and like Republicans for how much they hate Hillary Clinton, but there are so many like rich suburban Republicans who are like, I don't know if Hillary Clinton should go to jail. You know what I mean? Like, and Hillary still has stands somehow. I don't know how. It's fucking weird and gross. But I mean, I'd be on board though. For the record, it would be so awesome. But yeah, like liberals fucking love Hillary Clinton. I think you guys kind of misread that a little bit.
That, but there is so much more interesting findings in our poll this morning that really speaks to the dynamic of the politics going into this, Kate.
And one thing we see is that maybe the only unsurprising thing in this is that it shows that the nation remains so divided, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. But what are you seeing in this poll in terms of the overall impact, the impact on the country, the impact on democracy?
We should talk about the historic nature of this. Yes, this is a really a run-of-the-mill indictment, but a former president has never been indicted and arraigned. So the next 48 hours are going to see something in the country we have never seen before. So when you talk about democracy, take a look at these numbers. What do you think about the strength of democracy? And 31% of Americans say that it strengthens it. 31% say it weakens. 23% it has no effect at all. So divided. Americans clearly divided among party lines and familiar lines on this. But this is a historic proceeding, no question, so we cannot not take stock of all of that. But there is no doubt as we go forward here, democracy is at the core of this, and he obviously has other cases pending in Georgia and in federal court as well. So this is something that will be a through line of all this conversation today, Kate.
That is a great point. It's good to see you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
CNN's Kara Scannell is outside the court in New York City for us. Kara, officials in New York are set to make a public announcement that we're just...
Holding people accountable hurts democracy? Yes, it does. American democracy and the American understanding of democracy revolves around equality for those at the tippy top who have a lot of power and just absolutely the worst fucking solutions for those who do not have access to the best lawyers who are not above the law. So in many respects, when people are getting mad at this, when people are getting upset at this, they are correct. They are upset about like the way they interpret American democracy, the way they interpret American governance. They're upset that like it's not working for people on our side. It's not working for rich, wealthy guys, wealthy Republicans who are like on our side. It's fucked up that you're doing this. It's kind of similar to the January 6th guys that had a lot of entitlement, where they had a big sense of entitlement, so much so that they went in, broke into fucking Congress, and we're talking about like killing Michael Pence. Ran around with like zip ties and shit, screaming, "Hang Michael Pence." And then were shocked when like some of them got arrested. They were like, "Oh, what the fuck? This is not supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen to me. The law is on my side. The law works for me." That's the same energy here, where they're like, "What? Why is Trump getting punished for something like this? Like, it should never happen. This is so fucked up." Ultimately, they're defending the system for what the system is actually supposed to defend. Those who are in positions of power. Worst take. Please elaborate. I would love to hear your counter to this. Yeah. It always reminds me of the white doctor guy who got, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein actually, who got arrested in a airport terminal in Florida. And while he was getting arrested, he said, "You're treating me like a black person." It always reminds me of that story where it's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? This is not supposed to happen to me at all. Like that's, here's the doctor vid. Yeah, here, this.
I'm not. Do not hurt me. Do not hurt me. You understand? Do not be rough with me. Look at them. Look at them. They're going to beat me up. Don't beat me up, you mother. Don't beat me up. Look at them. Oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my God. Hey, look what they're doing. Oh, get to the other side. I'm not listening, asshole. You're being rough with me. You treat me like a black person. You're gonna get sprayed.
Yeah. There it is. I mean, that's what it always reminds me of when people go, wait a minute, January 6th guys are actually going to jail? Like, what the fuck? Okay, but he's not wrong. Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But understand that we all understand and agree with what is going on here happens to black people all the time, and it's unacceptable. The fact that he did not say the N-word and black person also low-key kind of subtly implies that maybe he's not as much as a racist person in that regard. I think like, did we do an analysis of this after the fact? I think at the time everyone clowned on him, but he was like trying to say like he's a liberal. I think he was just like a lib, and he was making a point, like saying that that's actually unacceptable type shit. But for real, to take the liberals like Hillary so far off from the truth, I'd like you to elaborate on that. Dude, liberals love Hillary Clinton. Like elite libs love Hillary Clinton. What do you mean? That's not crazy. Coastal elites? Oh my God. I don't see socialists screaming on the ground in airports. What? He doing too much, I swear, these hogs. I don't see socialists screaming on the ground in airports. I mean, that's a brutal arrest regardless of who it is. But remember, like I said, when people are criticizing the Justice Department for this, they're doing it because like this is not supposed to happen. Like they're shocked by it happening. And it's understandable if you think that the system is designed to protect you and those who have your best interest in mind, if you think that they do, like Donald Trump, which doesn't actually have the best interest of many Americans in mind, but they think so it doesn't matter.
Just hearing the commissioner and the mayor, what are you learning?
Yes, Sarah, that's right. So just about at noon Eastern, the New York City mayor and the NYPD commissioner are expected to make an announcement to address the public about the security measures that are in place for Trump's arraignment tomorrow.
Curry Swirl,
Now,
thank you for the
sources
10
tell
gifted
Brendan
subs.
Gingras that there are no credible threats against the courthouse or in the area, and there's no threat of disruptors, but they will give the public a briefing of what to expect. Now, behind the scenes, there's a lot that's also happening. There's restrictions on the 15th floor in the courthouse behind me over my shoulder. That is where the former president will be arraigned. Come in, self-surrender midday, and they're speeding up this process. He may or may not have a mugshot taken. There are questions about that. He's likely to be fingerprinted, and then he will walk down a public hallway where other defendants, everyone from drug dealers to his former chief financial officer, and go into the courtroom and face the judge. That's when the judge will ask him to enter a plea, and Trump's attorneys say that he will plead not guilty. From there, Trump is expected to head back to the airport and then back to Mar-a-Lago, where he said he will address the nation at 8:15. Sarah?
Yeah, arraignments are regular course of business for the courts, but not this one. Can you give us a sense of what Trump's legal team has been saying? They have done a media blitz over the last few days.
Yeah, they certainly have. And I mean, their main point here is that they are going to look for every possible way to launch a legal challenge in this case. Going ahead, that they're putting forward an aggressive posture. Now, one thing that one of Trump's attorneys, Joe Tacopina, he was on CNN yesterday saying, you know, just how aggressive they're going to take this. Take a listen.
We will take the indictment. We will dissect it. The team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge. And of course, I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming because there's no law that fits this.
So they're looking to take a bunch of legal angles here, motions to dismiss, also possibly challenging the statute of limitations in this case, as well as other matters. Now, the one thing, though, is that those motions will all happen a bit down the road because they've yet to see what the specific charges are in this indictment. And CNN and other media organizations have asked the judge to unseal that. The judge has this deadline for both sides, the Trump and the DA, to respond at 1 p.m. And we could see these specific charges and the indictment unsealed later today. Sarah?
Kara Scannell, thank you. Outside of the court there in New York, I want to bring in CNN national correspondent Kristen Holmes. You are in West Palm Beach, Florida, as we can see, with the wind and the water behind you. The president is set to take off in, I think, less than an hour. What are you learning about his plan?
Sarah, that's absolutely right. So we are waiting to see him leave his Mar-a-Lago home. He will be traveling with a small group of aides, including his top campaign advisors, Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. They will be traveling by motorcade to the airport, which is close by, and then flying into LaGuardia on Trump's private plane, and they are expected to land around 3 o'clock. Then we are told Trump will go to Trump Tower, and I was actually just told by a source that he is likely to meet with his lawyers while he is in Trump Tower. He will spend the night there before heading to the courthouse on Tuesday. Now, as you noted, and as Kara noted, he will come back almost immediately after that arraignment to deliver remarks. We will be there at Mar-a-Lago at his resort, and I am told by sources this will be the former president's opportunity to really take control of the narrative. Of course, we have heard him from the last several weeks calling this a political witch hunt, a hoax, but this will be the first time that we actually see him respond to the charges as we all learn them on Tuesday afternoon. That's when we're expected to actually learn what they are.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thank you there live from West Palm Beach. Let's go ahead and dig deeper into the security concerns now. Joining us is Jonathan Wackrow. He is CNN law enforcement analyst and a former Secret Service agent. So you know this like the back of your hand, except this is unprecedented. Let's talk about what's going to happen here. Usually the Secret Service is in charge of presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, and they're the ones that sort of make the plan. Is that going to be different now?
It is different now. The Secret Service is not the lead coordinating agency for this, the security protocols that we see being put into place. It's actually the NYPD is taking the lead role along with the New York State court officers. They're really bifurcating internal security of the courthouse and then external in the city at large. And that's unique for the Secret Service. Typically, we do see them in that lead coordinating role, whether it's for political rallies, presidential events. But this is different. This is a private event. This is private business that the former president has to do in front of the court. So from the Secret Service standpoint, it's almost administrative. Their responsibility is the protectee, bringing him from point A into the courthouse, allowing the former president to do his business before the court, and getting out, all safely, but very well coordinated with other law enforcement entities who are participating in tomorrow's event.
I'm curious how long it has taken for them to coordinate, knowing all of this that has been happening in the lead up to this. But I do want to ask you what their concerns are. I mean, there are a myriad of things that could happen when you have a city the size of New York,
Correct.
with the speed at which New York, flows. What are the big security concerns that they should be looking out for?
Well, really, you have to think about, like, we've known about tomorrow for a while, right? We anticipated it. So law enforcement has been coordinating, putting together a security plan, the overlay of the city, so not just at the courthouse, but the city at large. The challenge is addressing the wild card events. What happens if there's peaceful protest that actually turns into violence? What happens? Its consequences.
We don't know what the official charges are yet. Everything about the charges up until this very moment have simply been speculation. We don't know yet. We're not supposed to know yet. Once the arraignment happens, which is supposed to happen tomorrow, that's when we will know what the charges are. That's how it works.
Management. But the NYPD does this better than any other law enforcement entity in the world. They're prepared. Tomorrow you'll see 35,000 uniformed NYPD officers in a 24-hour period, making sure that the city is safe and secure. They're going to play it extremely cautious. Why? Because law enforcement no longer has to anticipate whether or not domestic violence extremists will actually engage. We know from January 6th that they will. So they have to over-prepare tomorrow, prepare for the worst-case scenario, hope for the best. Hopefully it's peaceful protest, individuals expressing their First Amendment constitutional right, but it doesn't transcend into violence.
And we know, very similar to January 6th, you are hearing from the former president. He is calling on people to be there, to support him. I do want to ask you about this sort of, mandate that every agency has. And everything is political at some point, right? When you're dealing with a former president. And certainly he's made it so, posting on social media. So when it comes to Donald Trump, and when it comes to the Secret Service handling this particular unprecedented, historic case, how do they do it without getting sucked into the politics?
Well, listen, there's no other law enforcement entity in the world that's drawn into politics more than the Secret Service, right? By the nature of their job. They're at the White House. They're with political leaders. But this is a seminal moment for the agency where they have to remain neutral. The optic has to show that they're not currying favor to the former president nor the DA. They need to focus on their primary remit, which is protection. Protecting the former president, because that's what they're mandated to do. They work with other law enforcement entities to ensure that the area is secure, but they are not coordinating any special accommodations for the president inside. The moment that they do, they'll be swayed one way or the other. And right now, it is essential for the agency just to do their core responsibility of protection.